Fixed annuities. Top experts say the three safest vehicles are CDs, fixed annuities, and T-bills. And that's why people would in the past go buy in T-bills and they could get 4, 5, 6%, and they hold it. At the end of the term, they can pull their money back. Well, people look at fixed annuities because it's principal protected, and we'll talk about how it's protected, and you get a fixed rate of return, and you know exactly what you're going to get. How much do you get? Well, these guaranteed insurance contracts can go from anywhere from 0 years, to 15 years, 10 years. If you go 0 years, or 1 year, you might only get a 1% return. If you go 10 years, you might get a 4% return. There's different ranges. Now, you have access to this monies, but it's limited access. What that means is typically you can take 10% out per year without a penalty. If you take more than 10% out a year, then there could be a surrender charge involved. And some companies say you can only take 5% a year, and some companies say you can take 20% a year. What I found is it does have a certain amount of liquidity to it, because if you think about taking 10% a year over 5 years, that's 50% of what you put in over a 5-year period. It could be great, and these also don't have fees unless you surrender it, meaning there's surrender charges. But if you hold it to the term, you can pull it out, you don't lose control of your money, and you do not pay taxes while it grows, which can be great for people that are looking for principal protected interest. So typically, it pays higher rates. You can take 10% out per year. It grows tax deferred, which tax deferred could be great, and it can add to your tax planning. And there's no fees unless you surrender it early and there's a penalty involved. Now, there are limited liquidity, like we talked about, and there's generally lacking of income guarantees. And what I mean by that, this is where people say, hey, give me 1, 2, 3, 4% and don't hurt me, and I want to know exactly what I'm going to get. And there's different ones you want to watch out for. Now, here's where our signature annuity strategies come into play. When you go shopping for highly rated companies, you're going to get company A, B, and C. And if you said, I want a quote for $100,000, company A might say, okay, we're going to give you 3.2% for a period of time. You choose a 5-year time or a 7-year period of time, and you know exactly what you're going to get. Company B might say, we're going to give you 3.3%. And company C might say, we're only going to give you 3% for the same period of term. But what we found a lot of times when you ladder these annuities or you use these management techniques between company A, B, and C, maybe it's different companies, but the effective interest could be much higher. The effective interest could be 4.2% for the same period by laddering and using these management techniques, because it's not one company that's going to give you everything. And if you ladder them in such a way, many times we're able to get closer to 4% because we use management techniques as well as laddering annuities, but your actual interest could be higher depending on your state, depending on the term that you choose. Now, when people look at fixed annuities, principal protection is number one. Vital signs of companies are so important. Vital signs are so important because when you look at a company, you do not want to lose that money. And a lot of times people only look at the ratings of the company. They say, does this company have an A rating, a B rating, a C rating? What kind of rating does it have? And I'm going to do business with that company or not. Well, this is what's kind of important when you look at fixed annuities, immediate annuities, or guaranteed insurance contracts. There's what we call a legal reserve system. And the legal reserve system looks like this. These are with guaranteed insurance contracts. Guaranteed insurance contracts. Number one, by law, every fixed annuity, immediate annuity, fixed index annuity must have dollar for dollar in reserves. This is by law. The reason that's important to you is because a lot of times banks don't have to apply to those laws. That means if you give a bank $100,000, a bank may have the right to borrow up to 9 times. They can leverage that money up to 9 times. Investment banks, I believe, can go higher than that. Number two, there's what we call reinsurance. Many of these companies have reinsurance companies. It's like an insurance company for insurance companies. What that means to you is some companies have 1 to 14 reinsurers. Now, they're not reinsuring the whole company, but what that means to you is this is how the company protects themselves. And number three, every company has what we call surplus capital. And surplus capital simply means that for every dollar that you put in reserves, sometimes they have $1.04, I don't know, to $1.10 in reserves. All that means is they have to have more money than you put in there to back it up. And that's what gives you greater principal protection if you understand how this works besides the ratings. So going back to vital signs, what is vital signs? When you look at a company, don't just look at the ratings of a company between AM Best, S&P. That's important. It's very important. But you should look under the hood, and in this example, you can see how many billion they have under management, how many do they hold to policyholders, how many policies are in force, fixed annuities or guaranteed insurance contracts, but how much surplus capital do they have? And in this case, it's 8.1%, and this is all hypothetical here, but when you shop for a company, we will provide you complimentary a vital sign to teach you how to kick the tire to look at more just beyond ratings, to see how much surplus capital they have.